Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 214 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is one of those fish that I have known for a very long time and have caught thousands of these fish. And there's something interesting about this fish that I wanted to share with all of you, and I hope you enjoy. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is bam! The Mexican Tetra. Now, the Mexican Tetra, or scientific name Astyanax mexicanus. Again, that's Astyanax mexicanus. It is part of the family Characidae, which is the family of tetras. Now, we've talked about tetras in the past, more specifically the neon tetra, which is possibly the most popular aquarium fish in the world. And this one is no exception. Tetras are known to be very, very popular in the aquarium trade. Now, this fish, the Mexican Tetra, is native to the lower Rio Grande River, including and also the Nueces and Pecos rivers in Texas, but it is also found along the Central Plateau in the eastern states of New Mexico. So one way to think about it is basically the eastern half of New Mexico, maybe not half, maybe the eastern third of Mexico, and then the Nueces, Pecos, Rio Grande drainage. I don't believe it gets up into New Mexico in the Rio Grande drainage, but I could be wrong about that one. But it is very, very popular in the river systems of the Edwards Plateau region, and they have been transplanted to numerous locations other than just those. But I shouldn't say numerous. They've been transplanted other places. So do not be surprised if you do see these. And they're pretty prolific. Now, usually, you're going to find these usually in rocky and sand pools, backwaters of creeks and streams. You know, that's really where you're going to find these. And it does prefer the warmer waters. You have to think, eastern third of Mexico, it's more a tropical fish, or at least a subtropical fish. Now, it is a small fish. You can tell by this person who's caught this one. Very small. I wouldn't say very small. It's about 12 centimeters, which is about 4.7 inches. That is actually a very large one. I've never seen one that large. But that'd be really, really cool. And this one probably looks like it's reaching 4. Very, very silvery scales, It's laterally compressed, and it has a slightly larger mouth that does have tetra teeth. Remember, piranha are actually a tetra. So, it does have that kind of piranha-like teeth. So you can actually, it's very, very hard because they're so small, but if you work at it, you can actually get your finger in there and cut your finger on their teeth. It's very difficult to do. But they're laterally compressed. They have this black bar at the caudal peduncle that usually goes to the edge of the forked caudal fin. That's pretty distinctive, especially when you pair it with that it usually has this yellow tint above and below that black bar. It does have these orangish fins, especially on the pelvic and anal, and I do believe those fins become more colored in breeding times. It does have a bit of an underbite as well, but something interesting is that tetras actually have an adipose fin, which is that fleshy adipose tissue, basically fat. It allows them to store energy, so it's a fleshy adipose fin. Just a neat little tidbit. Usually they're relatively peaceful in schooling. They are little piranhas, but I wouldn't go them, they're not like super aggressive. Basically, if they can't eat it very quickly, they're really not going to do it. These are not really piranhas, that are attacking, which that's even a misconception. So please go watch the piranha video if you want to learn more about piranhas. So, don't think that, oh, I'm going to jump into a school of these and I have to worry about myself. No. You can have a school of these. It's actually one of the most beautiful things in the world because these are primarily found in clear waters. Go snorkeling into a school of Mexican tetras, especially if there's a lot of vegetation, you'll see the school swimming around in this crystal clear. It's absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous. And this is an omnivorous fish. It's usually eating small crustaceans, insects, and not just aquatic insects, but insects that fall in the water it will definitely go after, because this is more of a mid-level fish species. So if something falls on the water like a spider or a fly, it will 100% go up and eat. Have no issues with doing that. And in the wild, they'll supplement its diet with algae and vegetation. And because the fact that they are omnivorous and they're so easy to take care of and they're relatively prolific, they are actually relatively popular in the aquarium trade, and they're very easy to care for. And as long as you put them in a proper tank and you get multiple, because remember they are a schooling species, you can have these, and I don't blame you. They're beautiful, especially when you get all the silvers and the yellows and the oranges flashes. It can be a beautiful sight to see. Just make sure you get multiple. Now, for the interesting fact that we're going to end the video on, I said they're found usually in rocky sand pools. Usually. And the reason why I said that is because this fish actually has a cave form. And it's not a different this is not a different species. This is actually a cave form of this fish. It is just simply a cave form. Now, some people do consider the cave forms to be a separate species, but that is not actually backed by scientific research. It's actually, the scientific research says 100% it is the same species of fish, which is always very, very neat. The cave forms, you know, like many other cave dwelling creatures, they've lost their eyes. They usually lose their pigmentation, developing these pinker scales, no pigmentation or coloration of the body or the fins. Because why? If you're living in a cave where it's pitch black, you don't need to have any of this coloration. So why not put that energy to making, you know, food? And what's interesting is that cave forms actually have many adaptations that help them survive. In fact, they're 4 times better at storing fat than their above ground specimens, which is really, really neat. It allows them to sort of store up energy in case they can't find things, because they're in a cave. You never know when your next meal is when you're gonna come across your next meal. The cave forms are really, really neat, and there are about 30 populations of cave forms known, but not all of them are the same, and differing populations have differing levels of form. There are some populations that are all cave forms, completely blind, no pigment. Then there are some that are intermediate, which might have some pigmentation or might have some eyes. They're sort of in that intermediate stage of going from above ground to cave form. And then there's some populations that have differing combinations of those, including all 3 forms. So there are populations out there that have, you know, cave forms, intermediate forms, and above ground forms, regular forms. There's some that have cave forms and normal forms, but no intermediate. Some intermediate and cave forms. It's a really, really, really neat situation. And what's interesting about it, and why this is such an interesting fact, is this is a very recent origin on these cave populations of this species. It seems that the cave populations really only sort of split off about 20,000 years ago, less than 20,000 years ago, which is very, very short in evolutionary time frame. And that makes this fish incredibly popular and important for evolution research, because not only do you have these different forms, these forms can interbreed and produce viable offspring. And because they're so hardy, even the cave forms are still really hardy. They're actually very popular in the aquarium trade. There is a huge push in the aquarium trade right now for these cave forms. You can see here, boom, cave form. Cave form. Like, there is a ton of cave forms out there in the aquarium trade now. Not that expensive. But what's more important than that is they're so important for evolutionary research because they were so recent. Scientists can look at these and see the traits. With all that being said, they're also hardy, they're easy to care for. It actually makes this the most studied cave fish, and more than likely the most studied cave organisms overall. Cave organisms are notoriously difficult to study, so having a good sample of populations of cave dwelling specimens that are very easy to take care of, not very particular in their environment like so many other cave specimens are, allow for a lot of important research. So really neat fish, and I hope you enjoyed this video. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated regardless. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. Leave those comments, and peace.